You ever notice something that doesn't sit right, like deep in your gut, but it's so small, so harmless looking, you feel dumb even bringing it up? For me, it was a ring. Not just any ring, my wife's wedding ring. Every single morning, before heading out the door, Eva would slip it off like it was part of her routine. Wake up, shower, get dressed, makeup, ring off, into this little dish by the door like it was an earring or some spare change. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe it bothered her while typing. Maybe it felt tight after coffee. I gave her a pass because, well, why wouldn't I? We were good. At least I thought we were. But the more I noticed it, the more it started messing with my head. So one day I asked, real casual, "Hey, why don't you wear your ring to work?" She didn't even blink. Ugh, it gets caught on stuff. Folders, paperwork, you know? It's annoying. That was it. She said it like she was talking about lint on her sweater. No big deal. But that answer? It didn't sit right. Because how many married people do you know who take off their ring every single day just to avoid some paperwork? Let me ask you this, and be real with me here. Would it bother you if your husband or wife left their ring behind every time they went to work? Backhand index pointing down. Drop a yes or a no in the comments. I want to know where you stand. And hey, if you're into real stories that don't hold back, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We've got a lot to unpack here. Because looking back, that tiny dish by the door wasn't just holding her ring. It was holding the first crack in our entire marriage. After the whole ring thing, I tried to shake it off. I really did. I told myself it wasn't worth picking a fight over. Maybe she was just annoyed by it. Maybe I was being overly sensitive. You know that mental loop where you keep giving someone the benefit of the doubt because it's easier than facing the alternative? That was me. But once you see one crack, you start noticing the others. And they started showing up fast. Eva's schedule changed. Out of nowhere, she started working late. Not once or twice, but a few times a week. She'd walk in at 9:30, sometimes later, and toss out the same line every time. Client dinner ran long. No details, no mention of who, just vague enough to feel like an excuse. And every time she said it, I felt something in my stomach twist. The first time, I even offered to bring her dinner, drive across town, and surprise her at the office. She shut that down quick. "Oh no, don't do that. It's way out of your way. Plus, we're in meetings all night." She laughed a little too loud when she said it, like she was covering something up with fake cheer. I let it slide, but I clocked it. Then her phone habits changed. And I mean completely. Before, she'd leave it lying around, on the couch, on the counter, no big deal. Now, it lived face down, always on silent, always in her hand, even when she was brushing her teeth or walking from one room to another. She even started taking it into the shower. One night, it buzzed while she was cooking. I glanced over, not to be nosy, just out of habit. She reached for it, like it was about to explode. "Just Beckett," she said casually. First time I heard the name. "Beckett?" I asked. "Oh yeah, Beckett Dunn. One of the senior partners. He's been helping me with a big account." She said it like he was a mentor, like he was harmless. But after that night, his name started coming up a lot more. We had a late call with Beckett. Beckett says I should take the lead on this one. Beckett thinks I'm ready for promotion. Every time she said his name, I felt my jaw tighten just a little. Because here's the thing. I'd been married long enough to know how women talk about work friends. And I knew what it doesn't sound like. This had something else layered under it. Admiration, excitement, a softness she didn't use when talking to me anymore. And you know what really got me? She'd talk about Beckett for 15 minutes straight. What he said, what he did, how clever he was. And then look at me like I was supposed to be impressed. Meanwhile, I couldn't remember the last time she asked how my day was. That was the part that really hurt. It wasn't just the ring. It wasn't just the dinners. It was the distance, this slow, creeping silence that started filling the spaces between us. Like she was slipping away one client meeting at a time. But I still didn't confront her. Not yet. Because part of me was still hoping I was wrong. That maybe she was just busy. That maybe I was overthinking it. But deep down, I already knew. I just wasn't ready to see how far it had gone. It had been about 3 weeks since I first noticed the ring thing. 3 weeks of late nights. 3 weeks of vague answers. 3 weeks of Beckett this, Beckett that. And something in me just snapped. We were sitting at the dinner table. It was a Wednesday night. I remember because I'd made chicken parmesan, her favorite, and she was barely picking at it. She was on her phone, laughing at something. Probably another message from Beckett. But I didn't ask. Not yet. Instead, I just stared at her left hand. Bare. As usual. And before I could stop myself, the words came out. Hey, can I ask you something, and can you just not brush it off this time? She looked up, caught off guard. Okay. The ring, I said. Why don't you wear it anymore? She sighed hard, like I'd asked her to solve a math problem after a long day. Then she leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and said, It's complicated, Dad. That sentence hit me like a slap. It's complicated. That's the same thing people say when they don't want to admit the truth. What's complicated about it? I asked, trying to stay calm. She looked at me like I was being dramatic. People treat me differently at work when they know I'm married. It's not a big deal. It's just easier if I don't wear it. Easier. Like our marriage was some obstacle to navigate around. She kept talking. You don't get it. You're not in my world. In meetings, when they see the ring, they assume things. That I'm tied down. That I won't relocate. That I've got a husband who'll freak out if I travel for work. I wanted to believe her, but her body language? It was off. She wasn't just annoyed, she was defensive. She wouldn't make eye contact. She kept shifting in her seat like she was trying to convince herself more than me. So I asked, Are you sure this is just about work? Her jaw clenched. That little tick I'd only seen when she was lying. Yes, Dad. What else would it be? I stared at her for a long second. She stared back, waiting for me to drop it. So I did. Not because I believed her, but because I knew pressing would just make her shut down more. I nodded. All right. Just felt weird. That's all. She gave me a fake little smile. You overthink things too much. And then she changed the subject. Just like that. But me? I didn't taste the rest of my dinner. Because now I knew something I hadn't wanted to admit. She was lying. Maybe not outright. Maybe not in bold letters. But in that moment, I realized she was hiding something from me. And she'd gotten really, really good at it. She took off the ring not because it was in the way, but because I was. After that dinner, something shifted in me. Stopped giving Eva the benefit of the doubt. Not because I wanted to catch her in a lie. I wanted so badly for her to be telling the truth. But because I couldn't live in that fog anymore. I needed clarity. And sometimes, that means going to someone who's been around long enough to see the patterns you've been blind to. So I reached out to Azariah Ponce, one of Eva's college friends. We weren't close, but we'd talked enough over the years to have a decent rapport. She was sharp, direct, the kind of person who doesn't sugarcoat. I sent her a message. Hey, random question. You still in touch with Eva much these days? She replied about an hour later. Off and on. Why? Everything okay? I paused for a minute before responding. Honestly, I don't know. Things feel off. She's been weird about work. There's this guy she keeps mentioning. Beckett Dunn. You ever heard of him? A few minutes later, she called me. Didn't text. Didn't type it out. Just called. That alone told me everything I needed to know. Hey, Thad, she said, voice kind of hesitant. I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but since you're asking, yeah. I've heard of him. I waited. She let out a breath. Just be careful around Beckett. He's got a reputation. What kind of reputation? I asked. Azariah was quiet for a second, then said, the kind that's hard to prove until it's too late. He's charming, smart, but he doesn't have boundaries. Not with women. Especially not with women who work under him. I felt my chest tighten. Are you saying Eva's? I'm not saying anything specific, she cut in gently. But I will say this, if she's been spending time with him, and if she's hiding stuff from you, it wouldn't surprise me. I've seen him pull that kind of thing before. Has Eva said anything to you? No, she said quickly. But that, I love her. I do. She's always been ambitious, and I respect that. But sometimes she gets tunnel vision. If something or someone feels exciting or validating, she'll ignore everything else to chase that high. That one hit me in the gut. Chase the high. Because that's exactly what it had started to feel like. Like I was the reality and Beckett was the fantasy. Like I was the steady, boring husband at home, and he was the exciting mystery in the office. I'm sorry, Azariah said. I really hope I'm wrong. But I figured you should know. I thanked her. We hung up. Then I just sat there, staring at the wall for a long time. Everything she said lined up. The late nights, the changes in behavior, the ring, the deflection, the defensiveness. Eva was hiding something. And it wasn't just about career optics or paperwork or work-life boundaries. It was Beckett. It had always been Beckett. She hadn't just taken off her ring. She'd started living like she wasn't married. And now, I was done hoping I was wrong. It was time to find out how deep this went. By this point, my trust was hanging by a thread. You know that stage where you're still technically in the relationship, still eating dinner at the same table, still saying love you out of habit, but deep down you're already grieving something that hasn't fully ended yet? That's where I was. And then Eva handed me the proof I didn't even have to go digging for. It was a Monday morning. We were both getting ready. She was putting on lipstick in the hallway mirror when she casually dropped it. Oh, I've got a business dinner in Houston Thursday night. Probably won't be back till late. Just like that, like she was talking about grabbing eggs from the store. I was sipping coffee. I froze mid-sip. Houston. I repeated. Yeah, she said, checking her teeth in the mirror. Beckett wants me to tag along for a pitch. Should be quick in and out. There was that name again. She didn't even look at me when she said it. Cool, I said, trying to act like I didn't feel the floor drop out from under me. But the second she walked out the door, I opened her laptop. Her work calendar was still synced to the shared iPad, the same one we used to plan holidays, bills, birthdays. She never disconnected it. Probably forgot it was still linked. I clicked on Thursday. Leadership Seminar, Dallas office. 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So not Houston, not dinner, not even remotely close. I stared at it, blinking. Maybe it was an old entry. Maybe it hadn't been updated. Maybe she meant she'd drive to Houston after the seminar. I clicked the details. Created 2 weeks ago. RSVP'd as attending. This wasn't a last-minute thing. This was the real plan. So now, I'm sitting there, watching my wife lie to my face in real time. I told myself I wasn't going to jump to conclusions. Not yet. I needed facts. So I pulled up the contact info for the Linden Hotel, the one Eva always stayed at when traveling for work. I'd even surprised her there once with flowers. She loved their rooftop bar. I called the front desk. Hi there, I said. Just checking on a reservation. My wife, Eva Wiggins, is supposed to be staying with you this Thursday. Just wanted to make sure everything's set. The clerk was polite, professional. Let me check. I don't see a reservation under that name. I felt a chill run up my spine. Maybe it's under her company name? I asked. He tried. Nothing. Sorry, sir. I've checked all names and corporate accounts. No upcoming reservation for Ms. Wiggins. I thanked him and hung up. Now I had her calendar saying Dallas, and her mouth saying Houston, and a hotel saying nothing at all. I sat there in the quiet, feeling everything inside me go still. Because this wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't an accident. This was a lie. Straight to my face. And I realized something in that moment. something I didn't want to admit but couldn't ignore anymore. She wasn't even trying to hide it well, because she didn't think I'd check. She didn't think I'd question her. She thought I'd keep being the loyal, predictable husband who bought flowers and smiled at dinner while she disappeared into whatever life she was building behind my back. But that version of me, he didn't exist anymore. I didn't need her to confess, because from now on, I was going to catch her myself. There's a moment, right after you realize someone is lying to you, where everything inside you splits in two. One half wants to scream, confront, demand the truth. The other half, it wants proof. I picked proof. So that Thursday I called in sick to work. Told my boss I wasn't feeling great. That wasn't a lie, not entirely. Just not the kind of sick that medicine could fix. I left the house before Eva. Parked a couple blocks down the street so she wouldn't spot my car. Waited. She came out just after 8 a.m., dressed in that blue blazer she always wore when she wanted to impress someone. Not me, someone else. She looked calm, confident, like someone with a plan. She pulled out of the driveway, and I followed at a safe distance, heart pounding like a damn bass drum. At first, I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd actually go to Dallas, even though I knew she wouldn't. There was still that stupid little part of me that wanted to be wrong. But about 20 minutes into the drive, she turned off the highway headed downtown, straight into the city, not toward any office building, not toward any seminar, but toward a sleek, modern place with valet parking and smoked glass windows, the Halden, an upscale boutique hotel known for its privacy-first business model, and who was waiting in front of the hotel, leaning against a black BMW, checking his watch like he owned the sidewalk. Beckett, the man himself. I parked across the street, slipped on a pair of sunglasses I didn't need, and watched from behind the wheel. Eva pulled up beside him. Valet took her keys. She stepped out and smiled. Not just a smile, the kind of smile that once belonged to me, the kind she used to give me when we'd sneak away for weekend getaways, the kind she hadn't given me in months. Beckett opened his arms like they were in some bad movie, and she walked straight into them. They hugged, tight, familiar, like it wasn't the first time. He leaned in and kissed her cheek, then whispered something in her ear that made her laugh. She touched his chest, playful, flirtatious, and then, hand on her back, just like in that Facebook photo I never forgot, he guided her through the hotel's sliding glass doors. No laptop bag, no files, no client dinner. Just two people who didn't care if the world saw them. I sat in my car, frozen. You always imagine that if something like this ever happened, you'd explode. Slam the door, charge in, demand answers, make a scene. But I didn't. I just sat there, watching, staring through the windshield like it was a movie, and I was the only one in the audience who knew how it ended. I took a photo, one single shot. Beckett, Eva, arm in arm, hotel entrance, timestamp in the corner. That's all I needed. It wasn't blurry. It wasn't questionable. It wasn't open to interpretation. She was cheating, not emotionally, not theoretically, physically, actively, right now. And suddenly, I understood why she always took off her ring before work. It wasn't to avoid uncomfortable questions at the office. It was to make room for the lie, because when she was with him, she wasn't married. At least not in any way that counted. I sat there another 10 minutes before starting the car. Didn't cry. Didn't punch the steering wheel. I just drove away. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I'd finally seen everything I needed to see. And now it was time to make my move. When I got back home that day, the house was quiet. The kind of quiet that feels staged. Like a crime scene after the mess has been cleaned up, but the smell of what happened still lingers in the air. Eva wouldn't be home for hours. I knew that. She was busy working. So I poured myself a glass of water with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, sat down on the couch, and stared at the blank TV screen for a while. Then I remembered the iPad, our shared iPad, still sitting on the kitchen counter, still synced to her iPhone. Probably hadn't even crossed her mind. She barely used it anymore. I picked it up and opened the Messages app. And just like that, there it was. Her entire conversation thread with Beckett Dunn. Unfiltered. Unlocked. Undeniable. I scrolled slowly at first. Then faster. There was no need to guess. No way to misread it. Beckett. Can't stop thinking about last night. You looked incredible. Eva. You make everything feel dangerous and safe. I hate how much I crave that. Dangerous and safe. I read it 3 times. 4. Each word chipped away at something inside me that I didn't even realize was still whole. Beckett, when are we doing this for real? I'm tired of sneaking. Eva, soon. Just need a little more time. Just need a little more time. Time for what? To lie some more? To keep pretending I didn't exist? There were photos too. Selfies in hotel robes. Wine glasses. Her feet curled beneath hotel blankets I didn't recognize. Flirty texts. Plans. Nicknames. Inside jokes that used to belong to us. I wanted to throw the iPad across the room. I wanted to scream. I wanted to erase everything I'd just seen. But instead, I hit screenshot. Every message. Every timestamp. Every photo. I backed them up. Airdropped them to my laptop. Put them in a folder titled Truth. And once I had everything, I stood up, walked to our bedroom, and opened the drawer where Eva always left her wedding ring when she didn't feel like wearing it. It was there, of course. Cold. Clean. Quiet. Just like her. That night, I emptied our joint account. Not recklessly, just the part that was mine. I left enough to keep things looking normal. Just enough to give me a head start. Then I packed. Not all my stuff, just the things that mattered. My camera, my laptop, my passport, a few clothes, a couple of photos from better days, back when I thought I was building something real. I texted my best friend, Eugene Whitaker. Hey, you still got that old couch in your garage? He didn't even ask why. Yeah, he wrote back. Keys under the mat. Stay as long as you need. Before I left, I did one final thing. I put together a folder, a real one, the kind you hand someone in court when it's time to stop pretending. Inside, a printed copy of the hotel confirmation from that afternoon. A screenshot of the message. You make everything feel dangerous and safe. The photo of her wrapped in white sheets, smiling at a camera that wasn't mine. And her wedding ring, tucked inside a black velvet box I'd kept from our engagement. I placed the folder in the center of the kitchen table. No note, no dramatic monologue, no goodbye, just a quiet, full stop at the end of a sentence she never thought I'd finish. I walked out the door without a sound, closed it behind me, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't the one being left behind. The next morning, my phone turned into a war zone. I woke up on Eugene's garage couch, barely 4 hours of sleep behind my eyes, and 23 missed calls lighting up my screen. All from Eva. And the texts? They came fast, back to back, different tones, different masks, like she was trying to find the one that would crack me open. Eva. Thad, what is this? Can we please talk? You misunderstood. Please, don't do this. It didn't mean anything. I love you. I read them all. Every single word. Didn't reply. She didn't deserve access to me anymore. Not after what I saw. Not after she made a fool of me in hotel rooms and private messages while I was at home making dinner and asking how her day went. The thing that stood out the most? She never said sorry. Not once. She said, please talk to me. She said, you misunderstood. She said, I love you. But not, I was wrong. Not, I hurt you. Not, I destroyed something good. Because to her, the pain wasn't real until it affected her directly. And boy, did it start to affect her. That afternoon I got a voicemail. Not from her. From Matthias Quinn, one of the higher-ups at her firm. I remembered him from the holiday party. Quiet guy. Always looked like he was watching the room too closely. Mr. Castillo, the message began. We're conducting an internal review involving Mr. Beckett Dunn and an employee, and we've received material suggesting policy violations. If you'd be willing to speak to our team, your perspective could help us understand the context. I didn't call back because I hadn't sent anything to HR. I hadn't turned Eva in, hadn't dropped the texts, hadn't forwarded the hotel receipts. I didn't need to. The truth has a way of leaking through cracks when people think the walls are solid. Maybe someone else noticed. Maybe someone else heard rumors and finally spoke up. Maybe Eva, in a panic, tried to control the narrative and accidentally lit the match that burned them both down. Either way, the damage was done. By Friday, Beckett was gone. Not transferred. Not quietly moved to another department. Gone. Escorted out of the building. Laptop confiscated. Email wiped clean. Eva. She was placed on leave pending investigation. The promotion she'd been chasing all year? Vaporized. The team dinners? Cancelled. The people who used to smile in her direction now kept their distance like she had a disease. And then came the message that hit different. Not from Eva. From her friend, Heaven DeLeon. We'd never been close, but she always played nice. Smiled at family dinners, tagged us in throwback photos, sent Christmas cards even when Eva forgot. I saw her name light up my screen. Hey, I know I probably shouldn't get involved, but she's wrecked, Thad. She's not sleeping. She's not eating. She keeps saying she still loves you. Says she ruined the only thing that ever made her feel safe. I stared at the message. Safe. That word again. She felt safe with me, but chased danger with him. She didn't want a home. She wanted a thrill ride. And when the ride broke down, she came looking for the house she burned. I typed and deleted 3 replies. What do you even say to that? Eventually, I sent just one message back. She didn't ruin something. She threw it away. And she can't be mad that someone else picked up the pieces. Heaven never replied. Didn't have to. She knew it was over. And so did I. Because when someone breaks you on purpose, then begs you to help them clean it up, that's not love. That's just guilt wearing a mask. After Heaven's message, I didn't feel anything. Not relief. Not anger. Not even sadness anymore. That part of me had already bled out. I opened my phone, scrolled to Eva's name, and hit block. No hesitation. No second guess. Just click, gone. And just like that, her access to me ended. No more midnight texts. No more voicemails. No more opportunities to twist the truth. She had already said everything she needed to say. And I'd heard it all from Beckett's mouth anyway. The next day, I took her wedding ring. The one she'd stopped wearing, the one she left in a dish like it was pocket change, and I sold it. Didn't care about the price. Didn't care what they did with it. That ring lost its meaning the second she handed her vows to someone else behind a hotel room door. I used the money to do something for myself. I signed up for therapy, not because I was falling apart, but because I was finally putting myself back together. I sat in a quiet room once a week and talked about everything. Not just her, but me. My patterns. My blind spots. The way I kept trying to save people who were never drowning, just walking away. And slowly, something weird started happening. I stopped blaming myself. Stopped wondering what I could have done differently. Started realizing that love should never make you feel invisible. A few months later, I got a message from someone I hadn't talked to in years. Olive Randolph. Yeah, that Olive. The one who dated me before Eva. The one who once looked me dead in the eye and said, "Be careful. That girl's got shady eyes." I thought she was just being petty. She wasn't. She sent a simple message. I heard. I'm sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. So we talked. Then we met up. And you know what? She didn't say, "I told you so." She just listened. We laughed. We vented. We walked around the city like old friends who remembered how to breathe again. We didn't rush into anything. But for the first time in forever, I felt seen. Not judged. Not used. Not second-guessed. Just seen. Then one Saturday afternoon, I walked into a bookstore downtown. It had been raining. I ducked inside just to kill time. Didn't even notice her at first. Eva. Hair pulled back. No makeup. Slouched posture. Dressed like someone who hadn't slept right in weeks. She saw me before I saw her. Her eyes went wide. Then tired. She stepped closer, holding a book she clearly wasn't reading. "Thad," she said, barely above a whisper. I didn't move. She looked down, then back up like she'd rehearsed it 100 times. "I didn't deserve you." I nodded. Calm. Cool. No emotion on my face. "I know," I said. And then I turned and walked away. No scene. No drama. No apology needed. Because forgiveness isn't always about letting someone back in. Sometimes it's just about letting go of the weight they left behind. The scariest part of betrayal isn't the pain. It's how familiar it feels once you see the pattern. She took off that ring not because it got in the way of her work, but because it got in the way of her lies. Closure isn't something you get from them. It's what you give yourself when you finally leave. Broken heart if this story hit you deep, if you've ever been the one who gave everything to someone who gave you nothing but excuses. Do me one favor. Backhand index pointing right, like the video. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe to the channel. Backhand index pointing right, and share this with someone who needs to remember their worth. Because sometimes the strongest thing you'll ever do is walk away without saying a word, without looking back, and without waiting for an apology that was never coming. You owe that to yourself, and nothing less.